The world of Aerthos ran on the relentless, quantifiable logic of the system. For a century, since the Great Integration, every living being had a class, every action a potential XP gain, and every monster a chance to drop loot. In the bustling, chaotic metropolis of Ethelberg, the lifeblood of this new world flowed through one central artery, the adventurer's market. It was here that legendary swords were sold, mythical artifacts were appraised, and the fortunes of heroes were made or broken. At the dusty, forgotten fringe of this vibrant market stood a small, unassuming shop, Vance's Valuables. Its proprietor, Elias Vance, was a man as unassuming as his shop's name. He was not a hero. He was a Tier 1 auctioneer, a rare, non-combat class that most adventurers considered a novelty at best, and a useless waste of a system designation at worst. His stats were a testament to his mundane existence. Elias Vance, auctioneer level, 5 HP, 250, MP, 300, used for social skills. STR, 8, could lift a moderately heavy crate. Dex, 10, quick with a gavel, not a dagger. Int, 25, knew the value of things. Wiz, 22, understood the hearts of buyers. Con, 12, survived on stale coffee and ambition. Che, 30, his most valuable asset. His skills were equally unimpressive to the casual observer. Appraise. Item, Ulventure 3. Generate hype, Ulventure 2. And haggle, Ulventure 4. While other level 5s were out slaying dire wolves, Elias was arguing with a surly dwarf over the price of a slightly chipped goblin-forged helmet. His life was a quiet, constant grind, his XP gained not in dramatic bursts, but in the slow, steady trickle of successful, albeit minor, transactions. His auction house was a small, dusty hall, its benches rarely full. He dealt in the scraps left by greater adventurers, common tier potions, slightly dented armor, and the occasional, uncommon weapon that a high-level hero no longer had use for. He was a bottom feeder in the grand, glittering ecosystem of the adventurer economy. His only companion was a stoic, magically animated ledger he called Ledger, whose enchanted pages would automatically record every transaction and occasionally offer dry, unhelpful commentary in crisp, flowing script. One sweltering afternoon, as Elias was preparing for another sparsely attended auction of goblin trinkets, an old, cloaked woman entered his shop. She moved with a silent, deliberate grace that spoke of a high level and a dangerous past. She placed a small, velvet-wrapped object on his counter. "I require your services, auctioneer," she whispered, her voice like the rustle of dry leaves. "I have an item of unique provenance. The major auction houses, with their ties to the knightly orders and the Mages' Council, will not touch it. They fear its history. But I have heard that you, Elias Vance, are a man of discretion." Elias, his heart pounding, carefully unwrapped the object. It was a single, obsidian teardrop, cool to the touch, that seemed to drink the light from the room. It radiated a faint, almost imperceptible aura of sorrow and immense power. He activated his appraise item skill, pouring a significant amount of his MP into it. The result flickered violently in his vision, the text shimmering with a purple artifact-level glow. The Shadow Lich's tier, artifact, description, a phylactery. Fragment of the long-vanished Shadow Lich Xylos. It is said to contain a sliver of his immense power and an echo of his eternal sorrow. Item level, 90. Durability, NA properties, grants the wielder, plus 150 NT and plus 150 W is, unlocks the skill, Shadow Weaving, Tier 8. Curse of the Forgotten. The wielder is slowly erased from the memories of all who know them. Their social standing, their reputation, their very history will fade into oblivion. Elias gasped, stumbling back. This was not just an artifact, it was a curse, a legendary world-altering item of immense power and devastating consequence. The kind of thing that started wars. "The consignment fee is 30% of the final sale price," the old woman whispered, a faint smile playing on her lips. "And I require it to be an open, public auction. Let all of Ethelberg see what the so-called guardians of order are too afraid to touch. She turned and was gone, melting into the shadows of the street, leaving Elias alone with an artifact that could either make his career or utterly destroy him. Ledger's pages rustled, and a single line of script appeared. Well, this seems suboptimal. Elias knew he couldn't just put the Shadow Lich's tier up for auction. The major factions, the dogmatic Order of the Silver Hand, the secretive Veiled Hand Thieves Guild, the pragmatic Mages Council, would try to seize it, to control it, or to destroy it. He needed to create an event, a spectacle, a perfectly orchestrated storm of desire and intrigue that would make the tier too public, too valuable to simply be taken. He needed to generate hype. He activated his Generate Hype, Levert 2 skill, a subtle but powerful ability that allowed him to weave whispers and rumors into the city's information network. It wasn't a spell. It was a series of carefully crafted social media posts, anonymous tips to well-known city gossips, and cleverly worded advertisements on the Adventurers Guild quest boards. A whisper from the shadows, an artifact of forgotten power surfaces at Vance's valuables. They say it holds the key to forgotten magic. A power the Mages Council fears. The Silver Hand calls it a curse, but is it a curse or a power they simply cannot control? He didn't lie. He simply presented the truth in the most tantalizing, provocative way possible. His CHA and INT stats worked in perfect synergy, allowing him to craft narratives that appealed to the specific desires and vanities of each faction. For the mages, he emphasized the lost knowledge, the immense boost to INT and WIS. For the thieves, he hinted at the unparalleled power of shadow weaving. For the ambitious nobles and independent adventurers, he framed it as an opportunity to possess a power that could rival the established orders. The city began to buzz. Vance's valuables, once a forgotten backwater, was suddenly the talk of the town. High-level adventurers, their armor gleaming, began to frequent his shop, not to buy, but to inquire, to feel the faint, sorrowful aura of the tier, which Elias now displayed in a magically reinforced, heavily warded glass case. Generate Hype, Level 2 Success, Hype Level 710, Rising. Low 250 CXP, Class Experience. Skill, Generate Hype has leveled up to Level 3. New skill unlocked, Read Buyer's Intent, Level 1. Active skill, Allows the user to gain a brief intuitive understanding of a potential buyer's true motivations and their maximum bidding price. Cost, 10 MPUs. Elias felt his own power growing. He wasn't just a merchant, he was a storyteller, a weaver of desire. He set the date for the auction, 1 week hence. He knew it would be the most dangerous and most important night of his life. The night of the auction was electric. Vance's valuables, once a dusty, empty hall, was now packed to the rafters with the most powerful and influential figures in Ethelberg. Elias had hired a squad of stoic, Tier 6 mercenary guards at an exorbitant price, but he knew they were little more than a deterrent. The real battle would be one of wills, of words, and of wealth. In the front row sat the three major factions. Sir Kalen the Just, a Tier 10 paladin, and the stern leader of the Order of the Silver Hand, was there to ensure the cursed item did not fall into the wrong hands, or preferably to seize it for purification. Whisper, the enigmatic leader of the Veiled Hand, a Tier 9 shadowmancer whose face was perpetually obscured by a shifting cowl of darkness, was there for the power. And Archmage Valerius, the pragmatic head of the Mages Council, a Tier 11 elementalist, was there for the knowledge. The bidding began. Elias, standing at his podium, felt a surge of adrenaline. His auctioneer class was in its element. His voice, amplified by a minor enchantment, filled the hall, his words a hypnotic symphony of desire and value. He used Red Buyer's Intent on Sir Kalen. Motivation, duty, control. Max bid, 500,000 gold. He used it on Whisper. Motivation, power, secrecy. Max bid, 750,000 gold, plus potential assassination of the winner. He used it on Valerius. Motivation, knowledge, preservation. Max bid, 1,000 gold. The bidding was fierce. The numbers climbed at a dizzying rate. Elias expertly fanned the flames, playing the factions against each other. 1,000,000 gold from the esteemed Archmage Valerius, Elias announced. A bid for knowledge, for the preservation of a power that could reshape our understanding of magic itself. Do I hear 1,000,000? 100,000? He glanced at Whisper. He could feel her desire, her frustration. She was nearing her limit. He needed to push her further. He activated a new skill, one he had unlocked just days ago. New skill unlocked. Instigate bidding war. Loveror 1. Active skill. Subtly amplifies the competitive instincts and sense of rivalry between two or more bidders. Cost: 50 MP use. A faint, almost invisible shimmer of energy passed between Whisper and Valerius. The air grew tense. 1,100,000. Whisper's voice hissed, a sound of pure, venomous desire. The bidding war escalated, the numbers reaching astronomical heights. The very air in the room crackled with greed and ambition. Instigate bidding war, Lever 1. Success. Bidding has exceeded projected maximums by 35%. 1,500 CXP. Level up. Elias Vance is now level 10. Class promotion. Tier 1 Auctioneer. Tier 2 Broker of Legends. New skill unlocked. Aura of Fair Commerce. Leverter 1. Passive skill. Creates a localized zone where overt acts of hostility or theft are met with a temporary, powerful system stun debuff. The strength of the debuff is proportional to the user's Chi-A stat. The final bid came from a surprise source. A quiet, unassuming noble from a minor house who had been observing the proceedings with a detached amusement suddenly raised his paddle. 2,000,000 gold. Elias used red buyer's intent. Motivation, max bid. The skill failed. The noble's mind was shielded, his intentions a complete mystery. But 2,000,000 gold was a staggering sum. Valerius and Whisper, their resources exhausted, reluctantly conceded. Sold! Elias slammed his gavel, the sound echoing through the stunned silence. To the noble House of Thorn! As the noble approached to claim his prize, a flicker of movement from the shadows. One of Whisper's assassins attempting to steal the tier in the chaos, but before the assassin could even draw their blade, a wave of powerful blue energy erupted from Elias. The assassin froze, their body locked in place, a glowing system. Stun icon floating above their head, the aura of fair commerce had activated. The room fell silent. They were no longer just looking at a merchant. They were looking at a man who could enforce the rules of his own domain with the power of the eye. System itself. Elias, now a renowned broker of legends, found his life utterly transformed. His auction house became the neutral ground of Ethelberg, the place where the most powerful artifacts were traded and where even the most bitter enemies were forced to conduct their business with a semblance of civility under the watchful eye of his aura of fair commerce. His INT, WIS, and CHA continued to grow, fueled by the constant stream of high-level transactions and the intricate social and political maneuvering that came with them. He gained new skills. Trace items provenance, Linear 1, allowing him to see the history of an item, its past owners, and the deeds it had accomplished. Identify forgery, Leverter 3, making him immune to the increasingly sophisticated counterfeit artifacts that began to flood the market. He was no longer just a merchant. He was a power broker, an information hub, a living nexus of the adventurer economy. He knew who was buying what, who was selling what, who was powerful, and who was desperate. But as he used trace items provenance on more and more legendary items, he began to notice a disturbing pattern. Many of the most powerful artifacts, the ones that had shaped the course of recent history, seemed to originate from a single, unknown source. They would appear in the hands of a minor adventurer who would then go on to achieve great, often disruptive things. They were like carefully placed chess pieces on a galactic board. He began to investigate, using his vast network of contacts and his unique skills. He traced the origins of a dozen different legendary items, following the faint, ghostly threads of their history back through time. The threads all led to the same place, a shadowy, clandestine organization known only as the Syndicate. They were not a guild, not a kingdom. They were a group of immensely powerful, unseen individuals who were not just participating in the system, they were manipulating it. They were seeding the world with powerful artifacts, creating heroes and villains, instigating conflicts, and profiting from the chaos. They were the puppet masters, and the adventurers of Aerthos were their marionettes. Elias had stumbled upon a conspiracy that went to the very heart of the system itself, and he knew with a chilling certainty that his quiet, prosperous life as an auctioneer was about to become a very dangerous game of cat and mouse. The Syndicate, sensing Elias's investigation, began to move against him. They didn't use assassins. Their methods were far more subtle. They began to flood the market with high-quality forgeries, designed to undermine his reputation. They started a smear campaign, spreading rumors that his aura of fair commerce was a form of mind control. Elias was now fighting a new kind of war, a war of information, of reputation, of economic influence. He was no longer just an auctioneer. He was a market warrior. He countered with his own unique arsenal. He used his Identify Forgery Level 5 skill to publicly expose the Syndicate's fakes, turning their own weapons against them and cementing his reputation as the most trusted appraiser in Athelberg. He used his Generate Hype Level 5 skill, not just to promote his own auctions, but to create a counter-narrative, a story of a lone merchant fighting against a shadowy cabal of manipulators. He became a folk hero, a champion of the common adventurer against the unseen forces that sought to control them. He even began to use his auctions as a way to fight back. When he acquired a powerful but inherently chaotic artifact, he would use his skills to ensure it fell into the hands of a known enemy of the Syndicate, subtly arming his allies in this shadow war. The battle for control of the adventurer economy was a silent, brutal affair, fought not with swords, but with bids, with rumors, with the subtle manipulation of supply and demand. And Elias, the humble auctioneer, was at its very center. Elias, now a Tier 3 master of the market, had become a true power in his own right. His auction house was a fortress of neutrality, his reputation impeccable. The Syndicate, unable to break him through conventional means, decided on a more direct approach. They offered him a seat at their table. Their envoy, the same quiet, unassuming noble who had purchased the Shadow Lich's tier all those years ago, approached him not with threats, but with an offer. "You are a remarkable man, Elias Vance," the noble said, his voice a calm, hypnotic whisper. "You understand the true nature of power, not the crude power of the sword, but the subtle, profound power of influence. We are not your enemies. We are the true architects of this world. We guide its narrative. We shape its destiny. We invite you to join us." He revealed the Syndicate's ultimate secret. They were not just manipulators. They were the descendants of the system's original creators. They had access to a backdoor, a series of hidden administrative commands that allowed them to influence item drops, quest generation, and even the very fabric of the system's rules. They were, in a very real sense, the secret game masters of Aerthos. They offered Elias a share of this power, the ability to create his own legendary items, to influence the flow of destiny itself. Elias was faced with his ultimate choice. He could join them, becoming a god in his own right, a silent, unseen puppet master, or he could refuse and face the full, unbridled wrath of the system's true architects. He thought of the young, desperate adventurers who came to his shop, their hopes and dreams tied to the faint glimmer of a magic sword or a protective amulet. He thought of the trust they placed in him, in the fairness of his auctions. He thought of his own journey, from a humble, dusty shop to a beacon of integrity. He made his choice. "I am an auctioneer," Elias said, his voice quiet but firm. "My business is in fair value, in open bidding, in the transparent exchange of goods. I am not a manipulator. I am a merchant, and I am not for sale." The noble's smile faded. "A pity. We had such high hopes for you. You will come to regret this decision. The Shadow War was about to become a very, very real one. The Syndicate unleashed their full power. They used their admin privileges to directly attack Elias, to corrupt his skills, to destabilize his aura of fair commerce. They spawned high-level assassins, their gear shimmering with an unnatural, godlike power. Elias found himself besieged. His auction house, once a sanctuary, became a fortress. He was no longer just a merchant. He was a general, commanding his small but loyal force of mercenary guards and adventurer allies against an enemy that could literally rewrite the rules of the game. But Elias had one advantage the Syndicate had never anticipated. He had spent years studying not just items, but people. He understood their motivations, their desires, their weaknesses. He knew that even the most powerful adventurer had a price, a loyalty, a breaking point. He used his immense wealth, his network of contacts, and his profound understanding of human and elven and dwarven nature to fight back. He didn't fight the Syndicate's godlike power directly. He fought the people they sent. He bribed their assassins. He appealed to the honor of their warriors. He exposed the lies they used to manipulate their followers. The final confrontation took place during his grandest auction yet. He had acquired, through a long and perilous quest of his own, a single unique item, a shard of systemic truth, an artifact that promised to reveal the Syndicate's backdoor access to the entire world. The Syndicate, in a desperate final move, sent their most powerful enforcer, a legendary corrupted hero, a warrior whose every item, every skill was a gift from the Syndicate's admin commands. He was, in essence, a player with cheat codes. The hero strode into the auction house, his power immense, his intent clear. Elias did not fight him with magic or steel. He used his ultimate skill, a power he had honed over a lifetime of understanding. Value and desire. New class. Tier 4, Auctioneer Prime. New ultimate skill. The final offer, active, ultimate. Allows the user to make a single binding offer to a target, an offer that speaks to their deepest, truest desire, bypassing all mental defenses. If the offer is accepted, the target's allegiance is permanently shifted. Cost. All remaining. MP can only be used once per year. Elias looked at the corrupted hero, at the immense power he wielded, at the profound emptiness in his eyes. He saw not a villain, but a man who had been given everything and had earned nothing. He activated the final offer. His voice was not a shout, but a whisper that cut through the silence of the room, a whisper that spoke directly to the hero's soul. I offer you a challenge, a real one, a chance to earn your own glory, to forge your own legend, free from the strings of your masters. I offer you a fair fight. The hero froze. The offer was not of gold or power or fame. It was of something he had long since forgotten, the simple, honest struggle of an adventurer. He looked at his godlike weapons, at his perfect stats. And then he looked at Elias, the humble merchant who had stood against the gods of his world. The hero dropped his sword. The final offer, accepted, allegiance shift, the Syndicate, the free peoples of Ethelberg. Systemic anomaly, admin level. Entity defection detected, critical system error. The Syndicate's power, their control over their greatest champion, was broken. Their back door into the system, exposed and now opposed by their own creation, began to falter. The war was not over, but the tide had turned. Elias Vance, the System Auctioneer, had won his greatest victory, not by selling an item, but by buying a soul. And the price had been, as always, a matter of true, unquantifiable value. In the aftermath, the Syndicate's influence waned. Their backdoor access to the system, now known to the world, was a source of weakness, not strength. The adventurers of Aerthos, now aware of the strings that had been pulling them, began to value something new. True, hard-won achievement. Elias Vance, the Auctioneer Prime, remained at the heart of it all. His auction house was no longer just a place of commerce. It was a symbol of a free and fair market, a place where value was determined not by unseen puppet masters, but by the open, honest desires of the people. He had started as a humble merchant, a bottom feeder in a world of heroes. But he had learned that true power lay not in the swinging of a sword, but in the understanding of the heart, in the art of the deal, in the profound, unshakable belief that everything and everyone had a value that could not be cheated. He was the System Auctioneer, the master of the market, the man who had looked upon the gods of his world and, with a steady hand and a clear voice, had asked them for their final best offer. And in doing so, he had bought the world its freedom.